Welcome, Mitch. I'm so glad you could join us this morning.
Thanks, Amanda. I'm going to begin with a story for all ages, and it's almost a true story about one of my granddaughters, Isabel, and her mother, Christina. At breakfast, Isabel said to her mum, "Let's visit Oma today." Christina, her mum, replied, "That's a great idea, and I'd love to go, Izzy, but I'm sorry. Today I have to prepare some lesson plans for my class." "You need the lesson plans for tomorrow, right?" pondered Isabel. "I do, so let me finish them up and then we'll see if there's time to go and visit Oma," bargained Christina, staring at her laptop. "Mom, you're not looking at me," grumbled Izzy. Isabel's mum stopped what she was doing and looked up with a smile. Looking into her mother's eyes, Isabel's tension began to drain. With a loving tone, Christina said, "My teacher partner gets really uptight if I go to class half prepared." Pausing to think it over, Christina postulated, "But you know, my darling, I can handle her anger if it turns out that I'm not prepared for tomorrow. So let's go." "Great, Mom, and before you go to class tomorrow, I'm going to send her some positive energy." "I'm glad we're going, Izzy, because I need to talk to the nurse's aide at Oma's place. Oma's room never seems to be clean and Oma doesn't seem to be well looked after." "Mom, don't worry about that stuff. Let's just go and be with her and have some fun. She loves seeing us and catching up on what we've been doing," Izzy sidetracked. "I don't think I'm worrying, Izzy, but you're right. We do need to go and show her we love her and we miss her. She knows we love her and we just have to prove it, right?" "You're so right, my darling." And with a deep exhale, Christina relented. "Let's get our coats on and go now, little ones." This is the first of 4 stories. I've changed the names of the residents, for the issue of privacy, but they're true stories. Hillside Place is about a 20-minute walk from where Heather and I live. The cool fall afternoon air prepared me for another bittersweet day. As I walked into the cottage, my practicum partner said to me, "It's Kay's 60th wedding anniversary today, and I need you to do a particularly good job with her ADLs. Now, these are activities for daily living that a healthcare aide provides each day, such as washing, dressing, assisting with getting up, and helping with eating. And I need you to tidy her room more thoroughly than we normally have time to do, as her husband is coming in around 10 a.m. to celebrate." I worried a little about the time frame for doing all this, but gratefully accepted the task. I knocked and entered the room. Kay seemed particularly lucid this morning as I chatted with her, washed her, dressed her, helped her into her chair, and took her down for breakfast. I returned to do that special job I had been asked to do, making her bed and tidying her room. Just as I had returned Kay to her room from breakfast, lifted her into her bed and sat her up, her husband entered. "Who are you?" nervously inquired Ken. "My name's Mitch and I'm one of the new healthcare aides. I understand that it's your 60th wedding anniversary today. Congratulations," I said to both Ken and Kay, and then left the room to attend to other duties. 10 or 15 minutes later, the bell in Kay's room began to ring. Arriving, Ken looked up at me with some angst and nodded to the bed. Kay had had a bout of diarrhea that would require me to change her, redress her, and remake the bed. I called on my voicera for assistance, but all my co-workers were attending to other tasks. I looked at Ken and asked, "Have you ever assisted the other care aides with changing and dressing Kay?" With trepidation, Ken replied, "No." "My experience is limited too, Ken," I said, and turning to Kay, I asked her, "Could Ken be my second today, and would you be happy letting Ken redress you?" She nodded enthusiastic agreement. As I walked Ken through the steps of removing Kay's clothes, cleaning her and redressing her, he relaxed and began to tell me his story of how he met Kay. By the time we were carefully rolling Kay over to change the bed, Ken was enthusiastically recalling memories with Kay, who was indicating agreement with great smiles. I removed the soiled clothes and linen, and later, as Ken was leaving, he brought me a gift by simply thanking me for including him in Kay's care. This is the second story. Marlene rang her bell for the third time this morning to call someone to change her soaked brief. We were short-staffed and I turned to respond to the bell. My partner said, "You know that Marlene always thinks she's wet. Let her be for a moment while you give me a hand with Mike." "In two shakes of a lamb's tail," I said, as soon as I turned off Marlene's bell. "You know she's going to be dry again, don't you?" my partner said ironically. Marlene had a mild dementia and was palliative with COPD. When I entered her room, she had already wheeled her chair up to the toilet and was waiting. I turned off the bell as she said, "Oh, there you are. Are you back on my floor today? I'm so glad because I'm absolutely soaked again." I lifted her onto the toilet, removed her dry brief, and left the room for a moment to give her some privacy. "I finished. Can you help me with my diaper?" she called out. Though she hadn't gone to the toilet, I washed her anyways and put on a fresh brief and lifted her back into her chair. She emphasized again, "I just hate being wet and nobody wants to help me except you." Changing the subject, she slowly looked me in the eyes and told me, "Did I tell you I'm doing MAID next week?" MAID is a legal form of medical assistance in dying. And yes, the floor had been informed at our morning briefing that Marlene was going to undertake this at her daughter's home on the weekend. "Yes, I do," I replied to Marlene's question. "My daughter is really supportive and I am so tired and I really want to do this, but I'm scared. What if I change my mind?" I looked into her eyes for a long while and hesitatingly asked, "What are you afraid of, Marlene?" "What if I made a mistake agreeing to do it?" she pleaded. "Do you think you've made a mistake?" "Not always, only when I think about it too much." "Do you understand what will take place at your daughter's?" "Yes," she affirmed, and explained in some detail the process up to when the provider administers the medication. "And you understand that the medication will put you to sleep in about a minute?" "Yes," she calmly said. "After you are asleep, the provider will give you the remaining medications that will put you in a deep coma. And about 5 or 10 minutes after that, your heart will stop. So, at any point during your MAID process, you can change your mind," I confirmed. "You mean I can say no right before they give me the sleep medication?" "Yes." "If I say no, what if they won't let me stop?" "The provider is bound by law to stop. If you say so, Marlene. It is all wonderfully up to you to decide what happens at any time during the process." She teared up and gripped my hand. I held hers in return and she let go and smiled for a few seconds and then said, "Thanks." I returned to my partner and explained what took place and asked her to help me write up a short report, and then we began to assist Mike. Story number 3. Judy teased me again while I was helping her to eat by saying playfully, "You don't like me very much, do you?" in her gruff, almost slurred voice. "I do too," I said back, just as playfully. After the next spoonful of food and licking her lips, "You don't like the food too much, do you?" indicating with a slight nod that I wasn't feeding myself. "I had mine earlier, Judy," I lied, and I gave her another spoon of lunch, teasing her with Eyeing the lunchroom carefully, Judy volunteered again in her best and churlish tease. "They don't like me, do they?" "Not much, and they don't like me either," I said to her as she grinned and winked at me. My co-worker got up from her feeding tasks with Mike to get some more paper napkins for all of us. As she passed by her Broda chair, she gave Judy a back hug, restating again, "She doesn't like me, does she?" indicating with a shoulder check my partner who was still hugging her. "Nope, she doesn't," I said with a shaking of my head, and Judy grinned broadly, opening her mouth for another spoonful. Finished with Judy's feeding, I wiped her mouth with her clothing protector where I had dribbled a bit of food off the spoon, and then I asked her if she was ready for dessert. "I don't like dessert, do I?" she said, contradicting herself with an affirmative nod of her head. "Of course you do, and I'm going to give it to you whether you like it or not," I told her, reinforcing her beautiful and simple story. She ate all of her dessert this time without teasing, complaint, or joyful liking. The effort of eating had tired her out, and as she began to fall asleep, I got up and wheeled her down to her room for her afternoon nap. Glancing over her shoulder with one eye open, she scowled, "I do like you, Mitch." And she was asleep by the time we got to her room. And story number 4. Marie's oldest daughter, Lindy, with deep remorse, was angrily accusing my work partner for not doing enough for her mother. Marie was comorbid with anxiety and depression and taking gabapentin for her seizures. Meeting my coworker in the hall with Marie and her daughter, I saw that the daughter was struggling with her mum, trying to clear the hollow beneath the seat of Marie's walker. The hollow was filled with clothing protectors, briefs, and other objects Marie had collected in her wanderings. "Why do you let her collect all this junk? It makes her so upset when I try to clear it out," exclaimed the daughter. Marie reached for a small plastic lifelike doll in the daughter's hand and asked my coworker, "Who is she? She's taking my stuff," as she pointed at the daughter and yanked the doll back. "You see what I mean?" angrily inquired the daughter. As Marie began to relax and walk up the hall, the daughter reinforced, "It's a real struggle for me when you let her collect all this stuff. My visit's ruined having to return everything." My partner looked into the daughter's eyes for a long moment and asked, "Why do you feel you have to return everything?" "Because you don't do your job of keeping Mum from collecting things. Can't you see I'm unable to visit with her when I'm stuck trying to get this stuff out of the seat and back to where it belongs?" "I can see that you feel stuck and unable to visit, Lindy. Come, let's catch up to her. She's sitting down in the entrance hall with Val, one of the other residents." Standing beside Marie, my partner, "Hey Marie, look who's here," gesturing to her daughter. "Oh, Janet, I'm so glad you're here. I was having some trouble today," Marie enthused to her daughter. The daughter began, "I'm not Janet, Mum, I'm Lindy," and while my partner gently interrupted to say, "She just arrived for a visit, Marie." And with a disgruntled look at my partner, the daughter corrected herself. "Yes, Mum, I just got here." Really looking at her mum for the first time today, Lindy softly murmured, "And I see that you still have that old doll you gave me years ago." "I love this doll," Marie exclaimed as she turned to the other resident, Val. "I gave it to my daughter when she was little. I'm hoping she'll come to see me today." The daughter, with a sudden sense of kindness, bent down and kissed Marie and declared, "I'm here, Mum. I'm so glad to see you." Marie smiled broadly and, returning the embrace, said with a broad grin, "Oh, Lindy, I'm so glad to see you here. I was having some trouble today." So, let life be beautiful like summer flowers and death be beautiful like autumn leaves.
Mitch, how beautiful.